Hey guys, last reloading video, we loaded up some ELD matches, 147 Hornady virgin brass Winchester primers using Reloader 26. Okay, we got phenomenal 3 shots in the same hole. We got phenomenal, that designates 1 inch. Low SDs. But the problem is we're running low on Reloader 26 and the EDL matches. So we're going to proceed to a different powder and different bullets. I managed to get some of these match burners from Midway, but they only allowed 2 boxes. So I now have 200 match burners. And they are for target practice. I don't know if I'd hunt with them. They are some aerodynamical, sleek. Look at how sleek that bullet is. So that's what we're going to load up. And Barnes recommends this Magpro. And there's 2, when you can't find any Hodgson primer, there's 2 powders that I found that you find on the shelves at Bass Pro and everywhere else. And one of them was this Super Performance and Magpro. It's like impossible to find this, and I do got a couple pounds of this, which is what I use in 25-06, but once again you can't find it, and I'm saving it for my 25-06. So we're going to try this Magpro, and I bought this 10-15 years ago. I didn't like it. I hit pressure sign before the published Max and the Barnes manual, and I discontinued its use. So we're going to give it a try in the PRC. I'm limited on the amount of virgin brass I have, so we're going to load up 59.7, 59.4, and 59.1. These bullets like close to max, so Magpro lists max at 59.7. 59.1, make sure we don't have pressure sign, and then we're going to work up to the max for 29.66. And if you guys, I've got a pound of this, and we're going to just try it. And I know the local gun store, they must have 10 jugs of this, but that's all they got. This is a powder. Another reason I didn't like it, this was like almost like BBs or glitter. And from my last video, there is no way you are going to get Super Performance to meter through an electronic scale. It poured out of the scale like water. I even dialed it down 2 grains and it was still overcharging. 502 scale and some lead dippers, and it shouldn't take us too long to load these up. So I'm going to try the electronic scale and see if it'll meter it, but if it's anything like Super Performance, it won't. But let me show you the size of this powder. Look at that. BBs. But I'm finding that on these electronic scales, this kind of powder just comes flying out. $65. Say we want 59.7 and we hit 65, it just overthrows it. See what happens with, I mean, stick powder, we're halfway accurate, but we're looking for 59.7, 59.8. See, it hit 59.8, but because it's plus or minus 0.1 grain, it'll say, oh, it's all right. You're only 1/10 of a grain over. Well, if you watch my last video in the Creedmoor, that's what I'm loading to is 0.1 grain. That's why I'm not a fan of these electronic scales. Oh, look, let's see what happens when I put it on the beam scale. And it's over. So you can't get precision when you're going to be over. We're done and ready to load these match burners. But if you ever wonder why I put a sheet of paper across this table, or a big long paper towel, and this is another reason I don't like this powder. I want to show you something. I tried to use this electronic scale. Of course, all it did was do overages. Okay, but it allowed me to dump it in there a little shy, and I could trickle it in and I could get right on the money. But I want to show you something. Look at this. Okay, watching the powder come out through here, bounce into the pan, and it's bouncing out and running down here all over the table. See it? So now I've got gunpowder, and after I noticed that, I put a little crease in it, but I now have gunpowder all over in my carpet, and when we vacuum it, I hope the vacuum don't blow up. But look at this mess. It's literally hitting, see, look, it's literally hitting the pan and bouncing out all over the scales. You don't have this with stick powder. See, look on the calibration weights. And I've only thrown a couple charges, and it just bounces in the pan and goes bouncing out. And it's overages anyway, so what point is it? Oh, and look at the other side of the scale. Just all over the place. All right, I thought I'd get some more light to show you how much the powder, it's just all over my, look, it's even behind. Look how far it went. I'm just not a fan of these electronic scales. They need to put a gutter all the way around it or something. But anyways, don't like this powder. But we're going to see how it shoots anyways. We want to check all our rounds, make sure they're all full. The other thing I'd like to point out is when I try and dump this powder back in the jug, that is so small it gets stuck in the threads in there, and I've got to run a paper clip through that tube and sit there, try and get all the powder out of the electronic scale, or else it's just going to totally throw off. I don't want it stuck in there and ends up in a load when I'm using stick powder or something. Then I got some of this powder in there. I might be a little OCD about this, but when I'm loading a cartridge, I want it that kind of powder only. And even in my trickler, I had to put a paper clip down to break it loose to get it to come out. Okay. This is set for the PRC. And guess what? I got to change shell holders. And I can't find a number 4 shell holder. I'm using a number 38, which is for 300 Win Mag, I think. Something like that. So now we have to adjust this, and I have no reference to go by. I have no new, or I don't have any master round. So you can always add some, but you can't take it away. So there's going to be a lot of caliper work here. All right, we're looking for 2.94. 2.94 is right there. So we still got 50 thousandths or so to go. All right, that is seated. That is the same seating depth as the ELDs. but it's not enough. See that? Now we're going to have to go down more. We still got to go 20 thousandths. So, and I don't know how much to turn this. I do know in the RCBS, I figured it up one time playing with it, how much a 90 degree, 180 degree, and so forth. And I don't know with these. Don't know with these Hornady dies. All right, that took out. All right, we got 10 thousandths more to go. 2.94. Make sure I'm doing this right. 2.94. Still got 10 thousandths to go. So we're going to go 90 degrees. I hope that wasn't too much. I might not take it all the way down. All right, so 90 degrees on the money. I'm going to write that down. I'll be back in a minute. 90 degrees is 10 thousandths of an inch. And we want to check it a couple more times on the next couple. Darn it, that was too much. That one says it's 5 thousandths too much. 1/8 of a turn. Be very careful when you do this. The other day, my pinky ran across these rounds and I knocked some powder out of them all, and I had to dump them all and start all over again. Now, I don't have a Hornady lock right on the money, right there. Right on the money. I don't have a Hornady lock and load cartridge. I have one of those devices you put in the bore to measure your lands, and I have it on all my rifles and use it. And that's the first thing I do on a new rifle is I want to measure how far to the lands. But guess what? You can't buy one for PRC right now. So guess I can't do that. Before Hornady came out with that device, I used to just take a dummy cartridge, not put a primer in it, and stick it in there and count and ram it home. And that's sort of jam. That's not touching the lands or kissing the lands. That's jamming the lands. But originally, that's how I used to do it. I've also seen where people will take a Dremel tool and they'll put a slit down the neck of the cartridge. I've never had any luck. Some people would take the dummy cartridge and they'll get soot over it or put a Sharpie over it and then load it and then keep going until they see the... I've never had any luck doing that. So that's what they're going to look like. Okay, I don't know if this is going to show up or not, but I'm going to try and show you something. I have turned this scale upside down, and look at this. I've turned it upside down, and with static electricity, that tube, grains of powder, still in the threads. Same way in the hopper. It's like stuck with static electricity, and I'm going to have to chase them out with a paper clip. Okay, okay guys, there's the completed rounds. But I found powder all the way over here. And when you look at it under a magnifying glass, it's small. They're spheres, and they hit the ground and they just roll. There's our loaded rounds. Now we're going to make up a card for them, recipe, so we can replicate it if they shoot good and see how they do.